Hey everyone, this is Sacred Force and welcome to my first new build video guide. For the first time I am going to introduce my first crafted build called Asura Mode. A build dedicated for those who enjoy high skill gameplay combat while dishing out the most damage possible. Asura Mode involves several sets in order to get the best result from it, with two sets being the core element to start with this build, Acala's Grace and Ame-no-Uzume Grace. If you can trigger both Rock Solid and Death Dancer buff from each of those graces, then you will be able to gain insane damage output while getting ki reduction and elemental damage reduction while guarding an attack. Now you might be wondering, how is it possible to stack Rock Solid and Death Dancer if those two requires you to have 7 pieces set, equipment each, while we can only equip to 11 slots in our equipment. Fortunately, we have a technical solution for that. The first thing that we need to do is to trigger one of those buffs. I do recommend going for Rock Solid since it has a longer duration compared to Death Dancer. Now speaking of Rock Solid, you have to focus on guarding first in order to get that buff stacking. And this can be tedious at some point, so I suggest having a Blessed Weapon or Strength Ultimate stat in order to learn the ki post function while blocking. If that's not possible, you can get a familiar talisman so that you can deal damage to the enemy while blocking. And yes, you will still get a stack from it, for other reason. Once you have your full Rock Solid buff stack, you have to quickly change your set to Ame-no-Uzume Grace so that you can start stacking Death Dancer buff. And no, you will not lose your Rock Solid buff because even if you do not have Acala's Grace, the buff is still working as if you still have the graces. Same goes for Death Dancer, you can unequip both of these graces set and still keep Rock Solid and Death Dancer active. You can even go naked if you really want to, so yeah, that's another glitch. But I digress. Get both Rock Solid and Death Dancer active for Asura Mode, and you can get up to 110% of the damage output if you fully stack both of these buffs. What about versatility? Well, you can try to get that buff by changing your equipment, so that you can get your damage output up to 170% if you want more damage. And for that, you will need a set with a versatility stat. There are two sets that you can get from, Benzaiten Grace and Grace of Susano. Both sets have the same number of pieces requirement to activate versatility. While Benzaiten is easier to farm forward, Susano has better stat like defense up from purification, which is useful to survive longer. So I do recommend Grace of Susano if you are going for a better versatility set. If you can get Rock Solid, Death Dancer and versatility active, then you are getting several benefits from Asura Mode. Ki reduction and elemental damage reduction while guarding, and a huge 170% damage increase to your attack. The best part about this build is that you can add your favorite 7 pieces build set with Asura Mode. Of course, once you have both Rock Solid and Death Dancer active, you can get a versatility and a 7 pieces set, like with Magatsuhi Grace, so that you can get, for example, perfect corrupted Susano, I suppose. My point being is that you can be flexible with this build and create your own unique build for it. The main aspect of this build is to trigger Asura Mode for massive damage output in combat, and add versatility set to unlock Asura Mode to its fullest potential. If you can use it, of course. This requires you to switch your equipment in the heat of battle, and you also need to organize your inventory properly so that you can switch your gear quickly. Just be careful on not getting hit, especially from a fire pole. You will lose your whole stack standing there, so there are a few things to consider. To summarize this build, get both buffs active from Acala's and Ame-no-Uzume Grace to activate Asura Mode. Then get yourself a versatility set for 170% damage. If it's too much to get versatility, then you can focus on getting only Rock Solid and Death Dancer, since this requires you to switch only one equipment slot. These two sets alone have several good stats, at least for a 6 pieces set. It's probably effective to use it when you're fighting on your way around in a small fight. And that's pretty much the end of this video. I did not cover other part of this build like source core, clan and gear stats, since it's not relevant to this build. In fact, it's not specifically a build that I'm trying to show here. It's more like putting things together to create something that can really affect your gameplay. And we do have several graces set that we can relate to this aspect, so hopefully I can create something new out of it. If you have anything to share in this video, comment down below and let us know what you think. And I will be seeing all of you next time in the next video. Take care.